Today, we explore together, hopefully, an extraordinary idea that there is no physical universe, number one, and number two, that the entire universe, from minerals to plants to bacteria, well, the sequence is minerals, microorganisms, plants, animals, primates, and human biological organisms, that this entire panorama of existence, which also then includes galaxies and stars and planets, all of that is a creation of human consciousness. That the entire universe, once again, with minerals, microorganisms, plants, animals, primates, and human biological organisms, and stars and galaxies, and the Big Bang, are a human creation. Now, this sounds extremely odd, I'm sure, to a lot of people, particularly to scientists who have been trained in the superstition of matter. But let's explore this. Let's unravel this. And we start with pure consciousness as the ontological primitive, because otherwise, as you know, the hard problem does not explain how matter creates consciousness. So let's reverse it and see how consciousness creates the experience of all matter. But there's more to this. Let's start, though, with the ontological primitive as consciousness. So this perspective, of course, challenges the materialist view of the universe as an objective external reality, independent of human perception. Instead, it suggests that what we perceive as the scientific objective universe, quote unquote, is a projection of the conditioned mind shaped by layers of cultural, religious, philosophical, and scientific conditioning. From this standpoint, the universe as we know it is not an external entity, but a derivative of pure consciousness filtered through human cognition, the process of human thought and interpretation. Creates categories such as minerals, plants, animals, and humans. These categories are not intrinsic to the entities themselves, but as I've said before, they are modes of knowing and experiencing within human consciousness. For example, a plant does not know it is a plant. Its existence as such is a construct of human frameworks and language. Similarly, what we infer about a plant's experience or state of being is also framed within the limits of human thought and cannot escape this subjective lens. Of course, as I say this, you might recall that this perspective aligns with certain ideas, not all ideas, but certain ideas in analytic idealism and other theories themselves being modified consciousness. But in any case, other theories that suggest consciousness is not an emergent property of matter, but the substrate from which all experiences originate. Pure consciousness is what is differentiating into individual perspectives to enhance the diversity of experience, maximum diversity of experience. This differentiation creates the illusion of separate entities and an external world, but these are ultimately expressions within one unified consciousness. The implications are profound. If the objective world is a projection of the mind, then space-time and matter are constructs also, and not absolute realities. Quantum mechanics, which is another model created in human consciousness, supports this to some extent through phenomena like the observer effect, where observation influences the state of particles. This, of course, suggests that reality is deeply intertwined with consciousness and cannot exist independently of it. In this framework, human advancements in science and technology represent iterative cycles of conditioning within consciousness itself. These advancements refine our interpretations but do not transcend the fundamental subjectivity imposed by consciousness. Thus, what we call objective knowledge remains rooted in subjective experience. Ultimately, this view reframes our understanding of existence. The universe is not an external entity, but a manifestation within pure consciousness. The so-called objective universe is inherently a human universe, a projection shaped by our minds and the interpretive structures of the mind. This perspective dissolves the dichotomy between subject and object, asserting that all experience and knowledge are grounded in consciousness as the sole ontological reality. Now expand on this perspective, and we go to a deeper perspective. The inferred experiences of other species, such as insects, animals, and even microorganisms, are deeply embedded within human frameworks of thought and interpretation. When we assert that certain species, as I've done many times before, when we assert that certain species perceive ultraviolet light, infrared spectra, or navigate through the echoes of ultrasound, we are not accessing their subjective experiences directly. Instead, we are interpreting these phenomena through the lens of human cognition, scientific methodologies developed by human beings, and conceptual frameworks created by human beings. This means that even our understanding of what it might be like for a bat to see through echolocation or for a bee to detect ultraviolet patterns on flowers is fundamentally a projection of human ways of knowing. Pretty wild. For instance, when we describe a bee's perception of ultraviolet light, we are translating its sensory capacities into terms comprehensible to the human mind. We use instruments and technologies designed by humans to detect wavelengths outside our visible spectrum. Then we map those findings onto our conceptual models. However, the actual subjective experience of the bee, if it can even be described as experience in human terms, remains inaccessible. What we call ultraviolet vision is not what the bee perceives. It is the human interpretation of a sensory process foreign to us. Similarly, when we infer that bats see through echolocation by interpreting sound waves as spatial information, we again rely on human analogies and constructs. We imagine what it might be like to convert sound into a mental image based on our own sensory modalities and cognitive frameworks. Yet, this imagined experience is not the bat's reality, but an approximation shaped by human understanding. Even more fundamentally, the very act of naming and categorizing these sensory modalities, Ultraviolet vision, infrared detection, echolocation is an imposition of human language and thought onto phenomena that exist beyond our direct experience. These terms are artifacts of human cognition designed to make sense of something inherently alien to us. They do not capture the essence of what these species perceive, but rather frame those perceptions within the boundaries of human comprehension. From this perspective, the inferred experiences of other species are not separate from the human universe, but are integral to it. They are projections of the conditioned human mind attempting to grasp realities it cannot directly access. Just as mineral plants and animals are modes of knowing within human consciousness, so too are interpretations of other species' sensory worlds. These interpretations are shaped by scientific advancements, human creations, technological tools created by humans, and cultural narratives of humans, but remain rooted in the subjective nature of human thought. Therefore, the experiences we attribute to other species, whether they involve ultraviolet light, infrared radiation, ultrasound echoes, are not objective realities existing independently in an external universe. They are constructs within the human universe derived from and limited by the frameworks through which human consciousness interprets reality. This again reinforces the idea that what we call the objective universe is ultimately a projection shaped by the structures and limitations of the human mind. Now extend this to cosmology. Extending the argument to cosmology, the cosmic wave background, CMB, often described as the oldest light and a remnant of the Big Bang, is a prime example of how human frameworks shape our understanding of the universe. The CMB is not a direct objective reality, but rather a human construct for interpreting a particular mode of knowing through instruments designed by human beings. These instruments, such as the microwave detectors and telescopes like Planck, are extensions of human sensory limitations, enabling us to see what is otherwise invisible to the naked eye. The interpretation of the CMB, cosmic wave background, as a leftover radiation from the Big Bang is itself a narrative built within the context of human cosmological theories. This narrative depends on conceptual models, such as the Standard Model of Cosmology, which assumes properties like isotropy and homogeneity on large scales. The very act of detecting and mapping the CMB, cosmic wave background, involves translating electromagnetic signals into visual or numerical data that humans can process. These maps, with their temperature fluctuations and density variations, are not reflections of an independent cosmic reality, but artifacts shaped by human cognition, human technology, and theoretical frameworks. Moreover, when we infer that the CMB represents the first light or carries imprints of early cosmic structures, we are imposing human categories onto phenomena that exist independently of our perception. Just as we interpret other species' sensory experiences through human analogies, ultraviolet, echolocation, etc., we interpret the CMB through our limited sensory and intellectual tools. The idea that this radiation reveals the universe's origins is meaningful only within the context of human-defined physics and cosmology. Thus, like the inferred experiences of other species, the CMB is not part of the actual universe, but of the human universe. The actual universe is unknowable, actually, other than the self. So, the CMB is a projection shaped by instruments, theories, and modes of knowing. It does not exist as an independent, objective entity outside these constructs, but instead is a manifestation of how human consciousness engages with and interprets phenomena. In this sense, even our most advanced cosmological insights remain grounded in subjective frameworks, reinforcing that what we call the objective universe is ultimately a projection from within human consciousness. Now, everything I've said can be summarized in one phrase: Atman in Brahman. Atman is Brahman. The phrase Atman is Brahman beautifully encapsulates the essence of everything I've said. It signifies that the individual consciousness, Atman, and the ultimate reality, or pure consciousness, maybe call it universal consciousness, Brahman, are one and the same. In this context, all experiences of the universe, whether they pertain to minerals, plants, animals, other species' inferred perceptions, or even cosmological phenomena, like the microwave background, are projections of human consciousness. These projections arise from and are inseparable from the pure consciousness that underlies all existence. Thus, the subjective and the so-called objective are unified in a single ontological reality, which is Atman is Brahman, or Aham Brahmasmi. So, you and I, in our fancy, have created the universe. And in the deeper reality, the only God is you. Might seem scary, but it's magnificent. The only God is you. Okay, friends, so my latest book is Digital Dharma. It's lying somewhere here. Here, it's about how AI can help elevate spiritual intelligence and personal well-being. It's called Digital Dharma. And if you want to continue to engage with me, please go to my digital twin, digitaldeepak.ai. And thank you for allowing me to share these reflections with you. A lot of people have said I'm insane, and I don't mind that because that's my club, a motley group of sages, psychotics, and geniuses. The razor's edge.